Hello and welcome to Compassion Ministries and 11th Hour Call Church. We are just so delighted today. We have Scott Ballard, the District Attorney of, now you tell me what you're the District Attorney of, Scott.
The Griffin Judicial Circuit. That's Fayette, Spalding, Pike, and Upson counties.
Yes, and we're privileged today that Mr. Ballard could be with us to speak to us. We had Judge Chris Edwards last week talking to us about methamphetamines and addictions and the problems, and now we have Scott Ballard, and we just welcome you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And we just want you to talk to us and tell us about some of your experiences and knowledge about addictions, methamphetamines, things that are going on in the area.
Okay. Well, I don't pretend to be an expert on addiction or methamphetamine or drugs for that matter, but if you're interested in curtailing crime, as of course we are in the District Attorney's Office, you have to address addiction and certainly drugs in our community. And one of the things that we've noticed in the last several years is the proliferation of methamphetamine cases. I don't know how familiar your viewers are with methamphetamine, but some people refer to it as a poor man's cocaine. It's an off-color white substance that's manufactured from battery acids and drain cleaners and very toxic kind of items that you can find in households. It's
all legal substances, but put together they make an illegal substance.
That's right, and not only an illegal substance, but a very, very toxic one. And the process of manufacturing the methamphetamine is very toxic. And of course, the effects of the methamphetamine are, they can be deadly.
Right. Yes, I understand that. Not only toxic, but flammable, highly flammable and dangerous.
Right. You'll often hear about a house fire, and on investigation into the cause, you'll find that there was a meth lab there. People get on the internet, and it's easy for them to find the recipes to make methamphetamine, and there are an awful lot of people who are trying to get rich by making that methamphetamine and feeding off of people's addictions. No thought whatsoever to the harm that they're causing to the person that uses and to their families and really to society as a whole, because when people are addicted, it affects the economy and it affects all of us.
Right, it does. And I've also heard that another problem with methamphetamine today is that it's affecting all levels of society and types of people. It's, I mean, it can be teenagers just looking for a good time on a weekend, up to a young wife, mother who is approached by another peer, say at a child's ball game, offering a drug that'll help them lose weight.
Our juvenile court judge, Terry Shell, has a special insight into these types of matters. He's the juvenile court judge for the same area that I'm the district attorney for. And he has told me that methamphetamine knows no boundaries. There's no racial boundary. There's no gender boundary. It's I made the comment that it's a poor man's cocaine, but wealthy people use it as well. You can't say that there's a profile of the type of person who's more likely to use methamphetamine than somebody else. So it's a problem that's very pervasive. It's not as much of a problem in the urban areas as it is in rural areas, we're finding. The northeast part of the United States is almost unheard of. Out west and certainly in the south, it's a growing problem. And in northwest Georgia, it is an epidemic.
Really?
Yes. Around the Dalton area, it is just a tremendous problem out there.
What do you think contributes to that?
I've asked people, and I don't know that I've ever gotten a really good answer for that. I don't know. I don't know. But at any rate, methamphetamine is something that we better get a handle on. It's much more addictive than cocaine. It's much easier to obtain and to buy than cocaine. And, of course, it's not just its addictive properties that are a problem. It's what it does to people while they're under the influence of meth that can be a problem. A person can take a hit of methamphetamine, and they'll do it either by injection or by sniffing it or by smoking it. And it'll give them about 12 hours of a rush. And during that time, they're not likely to sleep. They're not likely to eat. It affects their appetite. And we find that people that use methamphetamine can become quite paranoid and mean, in fact. So a police officer goes out to a domestic disturbance, and what years ago might have been a fairly safe call becomes deadly because of the paranoia of the methamphetamine user inside the house.
I have heard that they suspect just the slightest little thing. They're so paranoid that the police are going to come get them or whatever. I don't know exactly how that paranoia works in their minds, but they lose their minds over it. I do know that. Yeah, they totally. Well, it does brain damage.
Oh, sure.
The drug literally puts holes in the brain, and we talked about that some last week with the judge.
There's a significant percentage of brain mass loss that comes from the use of methamphetamine. I want to say 15% of your brain mass loss can be caused by methamphetamine. So.
Well, and there's tremendous weight loss from people because they won't eat, and
right.
they'll stay up for days on end. And I've also heard that coming down off of meth is so painful and so miserable that that's one reason they get addicted so quickly, that they continue to take the drug, although they don't get the same effect as they do from the first use. They have to use more and more, but that eventually they're not taking it for the rush, but they're taking it to avoid the withdrawal and the pain of the withdrawal.
Yeah, that's true. One of the most tragic things that we see is the effect this has on people's children. Children are affected in a variety of ways from methamphetamine use. Certainly if there's a meth lab close by, the children are affected by the fumes.
Right.
But to me, the most tragic is the way that it'll take a person who ordinarily would be a good mother or a good father and make them absolutely absentee. In Pike County, we had a case where a mother had been on methamphetamine and hadn't slept for 3 days. She took her child into the bathtub to give it a bath. She fell asleep, and the baby drowned while she was in the tub.
No.
They can't be the parent that they want to be and a meth addict at the same time. It's impossible to give the care to the child that they need to give.
Well, I've heard horror stories about the children. I've even heard stories of people giving the children meth to get them to leave them alone because they get hungry.
Yeah.
And they're not being taken care of and things like that. So that is just so sad. Well, here at Compassion Ministries, we believe that Jesus is the only way a person can, through Jesus, is the only way they can find help to overcome this problem. And, of course, we realize that by the time a person becomes an addict to meth or any other substance, it takes a little while to achieve a recovery. These kind of things don't usually happen overnight.
No. I think, first of all, the addict has to want to change.
Absolutely.
But they can't do it by themselves. And we find that over and over and over again, that people will have the best of intentions, and they want to fight this problem by themselves, but they can't do it. They need medical help. They need psychological help, and I believe they need spiritual help.
I believe that too. I believe that too. You're right. They do need all those factors.